हाय एवरीवन, मेरा नाम जवाहर सिंह है और मैं नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ प्लांट जीनोम रिसर्च में पीएचडी कर रहा हूं और मैं आप लोगों को क्लास 12 का बायोलॉजी पढ़ाऊंगा डीकेटी चैनल के थ्रू, डेली नॉलेज ट्रैक के डोनेट योर टाइम मुहिम के थ्रू। क्लास 12 के बायोलॉजी में हम फोकस करेंगे बायोटेक्नोलॉजी यूनिट नंबर 9 और पर्टिकुलरली आज हम डिस्कस करेंगे चैप्टर नंबर 11 बायोटेक्नोलॉजी एप्लीकेशन एंड इट्स प्रिंसिपल एंड इट्स एप्लीकेशन। So before going into the detail of the chapter, I would like to recapitulate our previous knowledge about the cell. So what is cell? Cell is the basic unit of life. Any living organism, whether it is a plant, bacteria or the animal, it will have cells, and cell is the basic unit of life. And if we look at the structure of cell, inside the cell we will have the nucleus. In the nucleus we will have the DNA. DNA is present in the nucleus in the condensed form, and this condensed form of the DNA is known as chromosome. So inside the nucleus, DNA double stranded DNA get converted to double stranded DNA. This is known as replication. This DNA can get converted to single stranded RNA, and this is known as transcription. This single stranded RNA can get converted to protein, and this is known as translation. And combination of replication, transcription, the translation is known as central dogma of the molecular biology. It is prerequisite to know about the central dogma of the molecular biology before we jump into the biotechnology. So now we have idea about cell and as well as central dogma of the molecular biology. Now we will discuss biotechnology in great detail. So we all have seen someone in a relative, family or in our society with a diabetic condition. So have you ever imagined what is diabetic condition? Diabetic condition is a condition in which person is not able to metabolize glucose that we used to take through in form of food. And this diabetic condition arises due to lack of insulin. Our body will not be able to produce insulin. As a result, glucose will be excess in our blood, and that glucose is not getting metabolized. So these patient with a diabetic condition, we have seen to get injection of insulin from outside. They get insulin injection from the chemist shop or the medical shop or the doctor. But have you ever wondered from where do these people get insulin? So now we are talking about insulin, and insulin is nothing but the biotechnological product. Insulin is produced in E. coli, in a kind of bacteria. It is a living cell. It is a kind of bacteria, E. coli, and insulin is produced in E. coli, and then this insulin is sent to the medical shop or the chemist shop, from where the person with the diabetic condition buy this insulin and get injected into their body so that the glucose can get metabolized. So now we will see how the insulin is get generated or get synthesized by using the biotechnological approach. So we have seen insulin is getting synthesized by biotechnological approach. So what is biotechnology? Biotechnology is a large scale production of any biological product in the biotechnology we produce any biological product in the large amount, and this biological product will be synthesized by using living organism or cell. As you have used E. coli, a bacterial cell, for insulin, and this process will be done for the betterment of the human being, that is should be useful for mankind. So, what is biotechnology? Biotechnology is a large-scale production, as we are synthesizing insulin by using bacteria, and we are synthesizing insulin for the betterment of diabetic people. So, overall, we can sum up the definition of biotechnology as biotechnology is the branch of biology in which we are synthesizing synthesizing a biological product at the large scale by using living organism like E. coli, or we can use even plants for the betterment of the humankind. The main purpose or the sole purpose of the biotechnology is the living standard of the human life should be increased. The problem of the human life should be resolved. Now we will discuss in detail the processes of the biotechnology. So biotechnology mainly encompass the two processes. First is called genetic engineering. And second is maintenance of sterile condition. Suppose we are synthesizing insulin by using bacteria called E. coli, and if we can't maintain the sterile condition, then few contaminants from the environment will come and will hamper the production of insulin. So in biotechnology, it is very much important or the prerequisite to maintain the sterile condition where the biotechnological process or the synthesis of our product or the intended product is going on. And the first one is the genetic engineering, and the genetic engineering is basically is manipulation of the genetic material. In the living organism, we have the genetic material known as DNA or the RNA. DNA is called the deoxyribonucleic acid, it is a double-stranded molecule, and RNA is known as ribonucleic acid, and it is a single-stranded molecule. And whenever we are doing any kind of manipulation, any kind of changes in DNA or RNA, it is known as genetic engineering. And biotechnology is dependent on the genetic engineering. Genetic engineering play a very important role in the biotechnology. Genetic engineering is also known as RDT. RDT stands for recombinant DNA technology. So suppose so in the genetic engineering we have few important steps. First is identification of gene of interest. So first we should have idea what we want to produce by using the biotechnological approach. Suppose we have some diabetic condition. So gene of interest for us is insulin, and gene of interest, so the gene of interest will be insulin gene, and the product that we are synthesizing is insulin hormone. So first is the identification of the gene of the interest. Second is vector. Vector plasmid means vector plasmid is nothing but the carrier DNA. We can't send a piece of DNA from a living organism into E. coli or any other living organism simply. So we need a carrier. Suppose if we want to move from here to a particular place, we need a cycle or a bike, that is called a carrier. The same case is with the DNA molecule. If we want to send a DNA molecule, a foreign DNA molecule into a bacteria or a plant, we need a vector, and vector is a carrier DNA molecule, and this is called vector plasmid. And second step is nothing but the joining of gene of interest into carrier plasmid vector. And this is also called the creation of recombinant DNA plasmid. So we can write creation of recombinant vector. Why we are calling recombinant? We are calling recombinant DNA plasmid because it is a combination of gene of interest of one origin from one organism and the vector and the plasmid vector. And plasmid vector are basically originated from from any kind of bacteria. And then the next step, first is the identification of the gene of interest. In this case, the gene of interest is the insulin gene. Second is the vector plasmid. We have to choose a vector plasmid that we want to use as a carrier DNA. Second is the joining of the gene of interest and the carrier DNA so that we can create a recombinant plasmid. And fourth step is sending this recombinant plasmid to the host organism. So this is called transformation. So, fourth and the most important step is the transformation of recombinant DNA plasmid into host. So, in this case, we are synthesizing insulin into E. coli. So, the host for the insulin synthesis is E. coli. And fifth step is the large scale production of our product. So biotechnology consists of two major components: genetic engineering and maintenance of the sterile condition. In the genetic engineering or the RDT recombinant DNA technology, we have 5 simple steps. First is the identification of the gene of interest. Suppose if we want to study a gene of a plant origin, so we have to get that gene of interest, that is gene from the plant. Or if we want to synthesize insulin for a diabetic person, so the gene of interest for a diabetic person should be insulin. Then this gene of interest need to be cloned, need to be ligated into a vector. So the second step is the identification of the vector, the carrier DNA. Third step is the joining the gene of interest into the carrier plasmid vector, that is creation of recombinant DNA plasmid. And fourth step is transformation of this recombinant DNA plasmid vector with a gene of interest into a host. The host for the insulin synthesis is E. coli. And fifth and the most important is the large scale production of our product. So as we have seen, the RDT technology, and RDT is the major component of the biotechnology. In the RDT or the genetic engineering, we have seen the first step is the identification of the gene of interest. So now in the case of the insulin patient, we have identified the gene of interest is insulin, but we have to isolate this DNA, and the DNA isolation, we will discuss about the DNA isolation. Suppose we know that the insulin is synthesized in the beta cell of the pancreas. So we have the beta cells. Suppose these are the beta cells, and in these beta cells we have DNA, and we have to get this DNA because the insulin, these are the DNA for the insulin, and we have to get this DNA out because in the cell we have the protein, we have RNA, we have the other biomolecules. So we have to get the DNA of the insulin out of these cells of the beta cells. So what we can do, chemical treatment. Different kinds of chemical treatment are used in the biotechnology. One is called lysozyme. It is used for bacteria. Other is called cellulase. It is used for plants. The other name is the chitinase. Chitinase is used for fungus. So different kind of the chemicals we can use to rupture the cell so that we can get our DNA molecule out of the cell. And the molecules are like lysozyme, cellulase, or chitinase. So once we have ruptured the cell, we will have the double-stranded RNA, we will have the double-stranded DNA, we will have the RNA as well as protein. And the gene and the interest matter is DNA only. So we have to remove this RNA as well as protein, and we can remove RNA by treating the sample with the RNase, or protein can be removed by treating with the proteases. So now after removing this RNA and the protein, we will have only DNA. And so the gene of the interest was the insulin gene, and insulin gene have been isolated by using chemical treatments like the lysozyme, cellulase, or the chitinase, any kind of chemical we can use as per our interest, as from where we want to get, we are interested to get our gene of interest, from what is the origin of the organism. And second is removing the other biomolecule like the RNA or the protein. RNA can be removed by treating it with the RNase, or protein can be removed by treating it with the proteases. So we have only DNA. And now suppose we have a 10 piece of the DNA of insulin from the beta cell. Now we want to create a large number of insulin gene, and the synthesis of large scale production or the large number of insulin gene can be done by using PCR. PCR is nothing but the polymerase chain reaction. So now we'll see what is PCR, or better to say polymerase chain reaction. So the DNA for the gene of interest DNA have been isolated. Now we want to increase the number of gene of interest, or increase the number of gene of interest. Increasing the number of gene of interest is also called multiplying, or the multiplication. And multiplying means, suppose if we have a single piece of DNA for the insulin and we want to create a 100 copy of the insulin gene. So what we will do, we will do polymerase chain reaction. We will have a many copy of this particular gene. And for this, we will do PCR, polymerase chain reaction. So if anyone is asking you what is PCR, the simple answer is PCR is nothing but a process in which we multiply, in which we increase the number of any gene. And now we will discuss the process of the PCR, or the polymerase chain reaction. So polymerase chain reaction is a process in which we increase the number of gene of interest, or multiply the number of gene. So we have DNA. We all know that the DNA is a double-stranded molecule. It will have a 5' end here, and the 3' and 5'. This is called complementary. This is a strand, and this one is called the complementary strand of the first strand. And here the DNA is nothing but the combination of A, T, G, C. We know A bond with the T, T bond with the A, G bond with the C, and C bond with the G. A and the T will have double bond, G and the C will have triple bond. And DNA molecule is nothing but the combination of A, T, G, and C, 4 nucleotide. So for the in the polymerase chain reaction, first step is called separating these two strands. And here we have the hydrogen bond, and we know that the hydrogen bond can be broken down by using high temperature. So we will use high temperature for separating these two strands, and technically separating these two strands is known as denaturation. So at high temperature denaturation will happen, and basically we use the temperature 94 degrees Celsius or 98 degrees Celsius in our daily lab work. Now we have 5' and 3', 3' and 5'. Now we will use primers. Primers are the short nucleotide sequences. These primers are used for the extension of the DNA molecule. So first is called the denaturation, that is separation of the two of the DNA of the two strand of the DNA. Then it is called annealing of primers. And this annealing of primers take place at the lower temperature at 55 degrees Celsius or 58 degrees Celsius. We generally use 55 degrees Celsius in our lab for normal work. And we all know that the DNA have 5' and the 3' and the 3' overhang will have OH, and nucleotide addition always take place at the 3' overhand. So if this is 3', then the primer 5' and here and 3', and this 3' and will have the OH group, and then the addition of the nucleotide will take place, and the extension of our DNA of extension of the primer will take place in this direction. The same thing happen here. Here we have the 5', 3' OH group will be here, and the extension of the primer will take place in this direction. So first step is called the denaturation, that is the separation of the strand of the DNA. Second is called annealing of the primer, and third step that I have shown here is called extension. So we started with the double-stranded DNA molecule. After the denaturation, we will have two separated strands, and after extension, we will have this is the double-stranded molecule. This is separated, and then the primer annealing will take place. Primer will extend in this direction and here for this direction, and after the complete extension, we will have two molecule of the DNA. So this is after a complete one cycle reaction. Suppose this is the DNA after a complete cycle, this will be the condition, and after second cycle, what will after the second cycle, this will be we will have the 4 pieces of the DNA molecule. After third cycle, we will have. So as we are increasing the number of the cycle, the number of the DNA molecule will also increase in the geometric progression, and after 30 or the 35 cycle, we will have a billion copy of the DNA molecule. So now we have an idea what is PCR. PCR is nothing but the process in which we increase the number of DNA molecule by the combination of process known as denaturation. Denaturation takes place at the high temperature. Then it is called the annealing of the primer. Primer will get attached as per its complementary sequences. Then it is called the extension, and extension will lead to the generation of 2 independent DNA molecule. So the first step in the RDT or the recombinant DNA technology was the identification of gene of interest. So we know our gene of interest is insulin. We had increased the number of gene of interest by using PCR, that is polymerase chain reaction. PCR is nothing but the multiplication. We will multiplying the number of gene of interest. And second, as we have discussed, we can't send an independent or a piece of the DNA molecule from outside into any living organism, so we need a carrier DNA molecule. We can say a carrier DNA molecule, and this carrier DNA molecule is called plasmid vector, and this plasmid vector had been isolated from bacteria. So the second is the plasmid vector, and plasmid vector is nothing but the circular DNA molecule which is present inside the bacteria, and its replication is independent of the chromosomal DNA. So in the bacteria we will have the chromosome, in the nucleus we will have the chromosomal DNA, and here we will have the small circular DNA, and this is called plasmid, and this plasmid get replicated independent of the chromosomal DNA that is present inside the nucleus. So now we have the carrier carrier DNA molecule that is known as vector, plasmid vector. And here we will have gene of interest, the double-stranded DNA molecule, a piece of double-stranded DNA molecule, and we want to add this gene of interest into this carrier DNA molecule. But before adding, we have to cut this vector plasmid, and this cutting is done by using a molecular scissor known as restriction enzyme. Now the question is, what is restriction enzyme? As I have told, restriction enzyme is the molecular scissor that is used in the recombinant DNA technology or the genetic engineering to cut the double-stranded DNA molecule. And restriction enzyme always recognizes a site of the DNA that is known as restriction site. And restriction site is basically will be a palindromic sequence. So what is palindromic sequence? Palindromic means whether we read from 5' end or the 3' end, it will always be same. Suppose we are writing EcoR1. EcoR1 is a restriction enzyme and its restriction site is GAATTC. This is a 5' end, this is a 3' end. And 3' will be G complement with the C, A complement with the T, A complement with the T, T complement with the A, and C complement with the G. And this is called 5' end. And EcoR1 recognizes a place in between G and A. So from 5' G, A, T, T, C, and from the 3 and from the other side it will be G, A, T, T, C. And here the restriction site will cut at this place. So this is called palindromic sequence, and this site is called recognition site for the restriction enzyme EcoR1. This is the restriction site for EcoR1. So the vector plasmid have been digested. Suppose it has been digested with the EcoR1, and after digestion plasmid will get open up, and here are gene of interest. And as we have seen, GAATTC, it will create overhang. And this overhang is called sticky end. So the DNA molecule here will look like this, and this will get ligated here, and this end will get ligated here. So what is ligation? Ligation is joining this gene of interest with the plasmid carrier vector. So we will join this, and this is called joining or ligation. And ligation is happened with the help of the enzyme known as ligase. And the recombined molecule means the combination of gene of interest and the vector is known as recombinant DNA molecule. Recombinant. This is gene of interest, and this is our vector molecule, and this is nothing but this is called recombinant DNA molecule. Why we are calling this molecule as a recombinant? Because it is a combination of gene of interest and plasmid vector. So we have discussed the gene of interest, how we will multiply the gene of interest by using the PCR. Second is called the plasmid, and we have seen the restriction of plasmid by using restriction enzyme. And we have also seen restriction enzyme recognizes a site that is known as the restriction site of that particular restriction enzyme, and every restriction enzyme will have a different restriction site. Till now we have around 900 restriction enzymes from 200 different species of bacteria, and this restriction site enzyme cut at the different site of the DNA molecule. So we have used a plasmid vector for ligation of the gene of interest and creation of recombinant DNA molecule, that is vector plasmid plus gene of interest. Now this gene of interest need to be sent to a cell where we will synthesize the product of interest. So in this case, the cell in which we will send this recombinant DNA molecule is called E. coli, because E. coli is a cell in which we will use to synthesize insulin. And a special property about the E. coli is that it is a kind of bacteria which will multiply into 20 minutes. So suppose if we want to synthesize a large amount of any product, insulin or any kind of protein, if you are using a bacteria E. coli, then at the end of 24 hours or the 48 hours, we will have a huge amount of our end product. So the question comes, why do we use E. coli as our host organism in the biotechnology? The answer is the short time period required for the multiplication or the dividing time is very short, that is 20 minutes only. Fourth step is called transformation. And for the transformation, we know that the cell, if this is a cell, E. coli cell, and this is a plasma membrane of the E. coli cell, and if this is your recombinant molecule and you want to send this recombinant molecule into the E. coli, we generally simply can't send this recombinant DNA molecule into the plasma, into the E. coli cell, because recombinant DNA molecule is hydrophilic in nature. And why it is hydrophilic? Because of its phosphate backbone. It has the phosphate group, and this phosphate group create the hydrophilic nature of this DNA molecule, and then we have the plasma membrane of the E. coli, and it is hydrophobic in nature. Why it is hydrophobic? Because of its phospholipid, because the plasma membrane of a E. coli mainly contain phospholipid. So this hydrophobic and the hydrophilic combination doesn't allow the entry of the vector of the recombinant DNA molecule into E. coli simply. So what we need to do, we will create pores over this plasma membrane of the E. coli, and these pores can be created by treating this E. coli cell with the help of the cation like calcium ion. Calcium ion help in the creation of these pores, and through these pores now this DNA molecule, the double-stranded plasmid vector, can enter, and this is called transformation. And for the transformation of the E. coli, we generally use heat shock method. What we do in the heat shock method, first of all, we will have Eppendorf or the test tube in which we will have E. coli cell, competent E. coli cell. Why we are calling it competent? Because now it's able to take plasmid DNA from outside, and we have made this E. coli competent by treating it with the ions like calcium ion. So that calcium ion have created a pore, now it is competent. So in the competent cell we have added our plasmid vector, that is recombinant, and now we will keep it over ice for 5 minutes. After this we will treat it we will keep it at 42 degrees Celsius. This is called heat shock, and this is for very few seconds. We use 90 seconds, and then we keep it at ice for 5 minutes. So this method is known as the heat shock method. Heat shock method is basically used for the transformation of hosts such as E. coli. But we have different method to transform different hosts. Suppose if you want to transform plant cell, we have a plant cell and we want to transform it with the recombinant molecule, then we will use ballistic approach or the gene gun. What we do in the gene gun? In gene gun, we take the recombinant DNA plasmid, we take tungsten particle or gold particle, we coat the tungsten particle or the gold particle with the DNA molecule, and then these particles are bombarded into the host cell, that is our plant cell, and then this plant cell will get transformed. So we have seen different method for the transformation of a host by using recombinant DNA molecule. The first step was heat shock method. Second was micro-injection. Micro-injection is basically used for the animal cells, where we inject the recombinant molecule directly into the nucleus. And third one was ballistic approach, or it is also called gene gun method. And in the gene gun method, we use a particle like tungsten or gold to coat it with the DNA of our interest, so that it can be bombarded into a plant cell, and then it can enter into the nucleus, and then we can get our product of interest. So we have seen in detail the process of the recombinant DNA technology or the genetic engineering. The first was the identification of gene of interest. So in the case of the diabetic people, if you are working for diabetic people, the gene of interest for you is insulin gene. Second one was isolation of DNA from the cells, and we have seen the different chemical treatment that can be done to get the DNA from a cell, and then removing contaminant like protein or the RNA by using proteases or RNase to get your pure DNA molecule. Then how we can increase the number of DNA molecule? Number of DNA molecule can be increased or multiplied by using polymerase chain reaction. We have seen 3 different steps in the polymerase chain reaction. First one was the denaturation, that is separation of the 2 strands into single stranded molecule. Second one was annealing of primer at the lower temperature like 55 degrees Celsius. The third step was extension, and extension always take place at the 3' end, because 3' end contain OH group, and OH group is required for the addition of nucleotide. And then after increasing the number of DNA molecule, we have to add this free end DNA molecule into a vector, and vector is known as the plasmid vector, and this plasmid vector is basically have been isolated from the bacteria. We restrict the plasmid vector and gene of interest, and we ligate it. Ligation means joining the gene of interest and plasmid, and this new molecule is called recombinant DNA molecule, because it is a combination of gene of interest as well as your carrier DNA molecule, that is plasmid vector. Then this recombinant molecule is sent into the plant or animal or any host organism, and this process is known as transformation. We have seen 3 different steps of the transformation, like heat shock method. For the bacteria or for plant, we can use particle bombardment, or for animal cells, we can use micro-injection. Now we will have in-depth knowledge about vector, and we'll see the different features that a vector molecule, a carrier DNA molecule contain. So now we will be discussing about the vector plasmid. So first is vector plasmid. We already know that the vector plasmid is nothing but carrier DNA molecule, and it is a carrier for your gene of interest into the host organism. If it is a circular vector plasmid, then it will have a sequence known as origin of replication, or in short it is called ORI. Origin of replication is basically a sequence which is required to start. Origin means start of replication. It is a site where the replication starts. Start of replication. If we want a high number of our gene of interest, then we have to get a vector that have origin of replication that support high replication. Few E. coli cells can have 2 plasmid vector. Other E. coli cell have many plasmid vector, and it all depend upon the origin of replication. Stronger origin of replication, the origin of replication that support high replication will have this condition. The E. coli will have a higher number of plasmid vector, and the origin of replication that support lower replication will have few plasmid vector inside the cell. Second is called selection marker. Selection marker we use to eliminate non-transformant and select transformant cell. Suppose if you have many E. coli cells, during the transformation, during the heat shock process, it may happen that E. coli cell have got your plasmid vector. This E. coli cell also have got your plasmid vector, but this E. coli cell have not got your plasmid vector. But how to eliminate this? And this is called non-transformant E. coli cell. These are called the transformant, and this is called non-transformant. These are called transformant. Why? Because they have got your plasmid. So our purpose of using the selection marker is to eliminate non-transformant E. coli cell and select transformant cell. And basically we use different kinds of selection marker like ampicillin or kanamycin or chloramphenicol in our daily day-to-day lab work. And second is called cloning site. Cloning site basically consists of restriction sites where your gene of interest need to be cloned. And in a vector, generally a restriction site should, if restriction site is present here, it should be present in a single copy. The restriction the same. Suppose if we have EcoR1 a restriction site in the cloning site, this restriction site should not be present at any other place because it will complicate your cloning process, your cloning method. So suppose you have a vector, you have digested it with the EcoR1, a restriction enzyme, and other restriction enzyme, BMH1. How will you come to know that your vector plasmid have got restricted, or in our lab life we say digested? So for this we use agarose gel electrophoresis. Agarose gel electrophoresis is a process in which we use a matrix of a polymer, polymer matrix, and the polymer that we use in lab is agarose. Agarose is basically a natural polymer that have been isolated from seaweeds. So suppose we have this is the agarose gel. This is the matrix through which the DNA molecule will pass, and we know that the DNA molecule is negatively charged because of its phosphate backbone, and DNA molecule, due to its negatively charged nature, will move from negative to positive through attraction, through positively charged electrode. DNA always move from negative electrode to positive electrode. It is moving toward positive electrode. Why? Because DNA is negatively charged molecule, and the smaller molecule move further and larger molecule remain at the upper side of our agarose gel. Fifth and the large step in the recombinant DNA technology was the large scale production of our product of interest, and for the large scale production we use bioreactor. Bioreactor are a kind of the instrument which are used for the large scale production, and in the bioreactor we maintain a sterile condition so that we don't get contaminant from environment. And bioreactor may be of the different kind. One of its kind is sterile bioreactor. Sterile bioreactor is mainly used to maintain the homogeneous nature of the substrate or the product that we are using in the bioreactor. Then we have the foam, the special feature of the bioreactor is the foam reactor, through which foam is collected and removed at a regular interval. Then few bioreactors come with the pH and temperature regulator that are very important, so that the bacteria growth depend upon the pH and the temperature, so it is important to maintain the pH as well as the temperature. So the bioreactor which come up with the pH regulator or the temperature regulator are important for the industrial application. With this, I would like to conclude the chapter biotechnology, principle of the biotechnology. We have seen in detail how can we synthesize a product which is of interest of humankind by using biotechnological process, by using recombinant DNA technology. And we have seen the example of insulin. Insulin was synthesized in the host that was E. coli. We have seen why do we use E. coli as the host, because of its shorter lifespan. And then we have seen how can we produce this product at the larger scale, and the larger scale production is done by using bioreactor. Bioreactor can be the different kind. One of its kind is sterile bioreactor. So with this, I would like to sum up the chapter number 11, that is principle and application of the biotechnology, and we will see at the chapter number 12, that is the next portion of the biotechnology. So bye everyone, see you at the next chapter. Good luck, bye bye.